Hello, thanks for joining me. Welcome back. I'm going to do a video here, and this is going to help everybody understand the difference between a republic and a democracy. And by the end of this video, I think everybody is going to understand that our forefathers were pretty smart, pretty intelligent, lots of wisdom, and there's a reason why our form of government is designed the way it is, and I'm going to peel back a lot of layers of falsities and lies that we've been taught over the last hundreds of years, probably at least 200 years. But in the last couple of decades, it's been getting really bad. So get ready, you're going to like it. So first thing I want to start with is a bit of a history as to what we're going to be looking at. What we're doing as the people, we've come together and we've learned the law at such a fundamental level that it's more impactful than any attorney or court has seen in decades. And if there are people out there that know this before we figured this out, they would never teach anybody, and if they did, they were usually either hushed up quickly because of the damaging and damning information that if it was spread, it would change things quite a bit. Or they just took the knowledge for themselves, got rich, made sure they could protect their own assets, kept the government out of their business much better than other people because of the wisdom. So the big difference is there's our government is a republic, meaning they have no jurisdiction over anything that's private. So the people are over here, and they're in the private, and the government is a republic, meaning they only have granted powers and authorities to manage the things that the people gave them the grants and authorities to do, and that's all written down in our constitutions. So there's a huge difference between these two. Now many years have been gone by, and we've been taught out of this that we're kind of one and the same, and we're not. The people are 100% apart from and separate from our creation, which is a constitutional republic. So, and I'll explain some of that as I get into these notices. So I'm going to go back in time and explain to you what I did with a compatriot of mine, Summer Cook. And I happen to be in Wisconsin, but everything I'm doing here, everybody in the nation, all 50 states, you can all participate in what we're doing, and this is an educational thing that you can duplicate, replicate, use at your level, your county, your township, what have you. It doesn't matter, because everything that I'm going to show you is applicable even at the lowest level. So back in March of this year, it happens to be December of 2023, but March of this year, Summer and I put this notice together, and we instructed our government on what was going on. Okay, so in the beginning, we kind of gave them some things and said, hey, there's a lot of things going on with regard to our elections. We know it's bad. There's some messed up things, and we sent this to our state legislature, and a lot of people signed this. This was 120 people signed this notice. This notice was very long. It happened to be 4 pages, all law, a lot of questions, a lot of evidence from the Teigen versus Weck Supreme Court case here in Wisconsin, which showed there was a lot of issues with our election and proved that our elections were not run to the letter of the law, which makes it a nullity. Okay, so, and we got close. We got very close to at least getting the information out to the people. But some attorneys and some slick people got involved, and they didn't want us to figure that out for obvious reasons. So there's some people at our state legislature level. Our Speaker of the House happens to be Robin Voss here in Wisconsin, and he came right out and said, once the people confronted him face to face with the real law, he flat out said, yeah, there is widespread fraud. I believe there's widespread fraud in our state. But he was so fearful of changing it that he just flat out said, but there's nothing we can do about it, which I don't believe that he believed that. I think he was lying. I believe that there are some folks at our state and federal level that benefit, obviously, from elections being rigged. So let's boil it down. So this here notice went out in March. There was a lot of activity at the Capitol here in Wisconsin, and then it got quiet for a little while, and a couple of months later, this was in August, this notice was created, and a lot of you participated in this one. This one got a lot of traction because by now, many months went by, more angst, more anger from the people. A lot more people are starting to dig and be inquisitive, and there's a lot of false idols out there right now. There's a lot of people that say that they're going to be changing things for us, but they don't. There's just a lot of that going on. But here's what happened. This notice was sent, and this is a notice on the WEC, the Wisconsin Election Commission, and Megan Wolf. So Megan Wolf, obviously, with all the information that came out with the Gableman investigation and the Wisconsin Supreme Court cases that came up, all that information came out. Basically, she broke the law. Like, terrible. So we, the people, got together and said, we got smart finally. We know about notices, we know about affidavits, and what we do as the people, not as creatures of government or an association known as citizens, we come as the people. The people created the government. So nobody wants you to know this. Our government, our constitutional republic, is a trust. It's a public trust, and we created it. We're the creators, and we're also the beneficiaries. So we can actually come to our creation, much like a business owner comes to his business or his corporation or his company or what have you, and asks, hey, I want some accountability here, and things aren't getting done, and I need you to clean house. So what we're doing with this notice here, and a lot of you signed it, this was in August. This notice was signed, 500 and some odd participants from this all over the U.S. Sent this notice to our legislature here in Wisconsin. And this one was very pointed, and it was basically demanding that Megan Wolf be impeached. Why? Here's why. I've never seen more evidence against one individual in any state for any election reason that was already in a court, judicially brought about. So we have judicial evidence of Megan Wolf doing these things. So we demanded to our legislature here in Wisconsin to do something about it. This can't stand, right? Obviously, if you have somebody in your company or your corporation or your trust who is going against the trust, they need to be removed immediately. And at this point, we have about had enough, and this is a little bit of a, I don't want to say an experiment, but hey, if this has to happen this way, we need to see it take place. So our legislature has the power to impeach, and it hasn't been used in a very, very long time. So if they have the power to do it, and they're not using it, what does that say for a corporation or a company? Now this happens to be a public trust. This is our government. Makes no difference. It's still an entity that we created, and we control it. And it says so in our 50 state constitutions that these public trusts are ours because the people have all political power, and none of their grants and authorities derive anywhere other than from the people. And that's what they say. You got to read them. So this notice, and I'm giving you a recap and why I'm going to get to the last one here in a second. So this notice to impeach Megan Wolf had some very good information on it, and as God would make it known and make it made it easy, I showed up at the legislature myself, and I had no plan. I just showed up, and I had a box of these notices and put me right in front of, I would say, the best election hawks in our state, the good servants and trustees of our legislature that actually want to see it through. They want to see clean elections. They want to have it fair. They want to protect the people. This notice I brought to my Capitol in Madison, and I had an hour-and-a-half meeting with 3 legislators, 3 representatives, assembly body personnel, and they agreed with everything on here. They read it, and they read the prior one. They know the information, but the issue is that there's some issues going on at our Capitol right now where our direct representatives are getting bad advice from people in our Capitol that do not have the public's the people's best interest at heart, and they're getting between them. They're getting between us, the people, and our representatives. So there's some issues there, but here's what has to happen. As much as our legislators and these folks that I talk to, I respect because of what they're doing, you can't say to anyone, and not just them, I mean anybody that's there, you can't say to your constituents, the people that you work for, you can't say to them, well, it's hard and I can't do it because someone doesn't want me to, or the air here doesn't allow it, or someone's going to not like it, or there's people here that are going to hurt me, or whatever. I don't care who's at the Capitol. I don't care what they're saying to you. What you need to know is the people know the law, and there's a lot more of us than there is of them. And you should just do what's right. I'm going to show you the law today, and we're going to want people to study up on this stuff at some point. So this was the notice to Megan Wolf. This one has already gone out, and this was a successful notice because after this we had 5 legislatures sign on to create and sign on to the articles of impeachment. So I want to give a big shout out to Janelle Branchin. Thank you for doing what's right. We appreciate that. And then everybody else that signed on to the articles of impeachment. You clearly know what the law is. You clearly know you want to do what's right. The law will absolutely protect you and everybody else if you have the time and inclination to reach out to the people that are doing this. I'm not the only one doing this, okay? It's not just me. There are pockets of good Americans all over the nation doing this. And I think that this one here is going to be, this little push or effort is going to be another way for the American people to understand how your powers as the creators of government, how it works and how powerful it is. that's what I'm hoping to get out of this video. So if you guys want to watch what happens, subscribe to the video. Um, Please share the notice, sign the notice, and then there's instructions on how to send it in to our state reps here. So I'm going to go to the next notice. Okay, here's the next notice. So this is the actionable piece of this video. So first I wanted to give you a bit of a background. The next piece is what this notice does. So once the people want to see justice happen, and this is happening all over the U.S., and frankly I know everybody's getting tired of it. We're constantly being played by the media, news. They're rubbing it in our faces. There's people that are sitting in our seats of government, which we own, and they're using for their benefit and not for our benefit. So I understand that this may seem like a weird way to get information because it's not from a news article or an outlet that you're used to seeing it, but I can tell you that it's the truth, and this has been working for the last at least 4 years that I know of. But the powers that be do not want you to know this, because this is going to flip the paradigm. Everybody right now goes to work in their car every day, and they hear the news, they listen to the news, they're on social media, and they're just bombarded by some of this negative stuff out there that we got this wide open border, we've got all these issues with our schools going on, some crazy teachings going on at our schools. All that is bad. I'm not going to take away from any of that, but what I'm going to show you is a way to correct any issue that is on your heart that is wrong, and that your government is supposed to do better. And that's what I'm going to show you here. So this notice is a notice of maladministration to Robin Vos. Let me explain why this is going to Robin Vos. So our legislature did create articles of impeachment because of the notices that we sent to them back in August. Okay. And then on September 14th, I actually delivered those notices, hand-delivered those notices to the legislature. That's when I had the meeting. I passed them out to senators and assemblymen all over. And then 7 days after my stop at the Capitol there, that's when the articles of impeachment were drafted and released to the public. That's when everybody in the state of Wisconsin heard about it. But behind the scenes, 7 days prior to that, I was there instructing, giving educational pieces of why we need impeachment of Meagan Wolfe, why you need to do it, why if you don't, it's going to be bad. And I had to use some language that I didn't want to come off threatening, but I had to use the law, so I just repeated what the law said. If you want to know what I said, you can ask the 3 representatives in Wisconsin what was on their heart 7 days prior to them bringing up the articles of impeachment and releasing them to the public. If you want to know if this notice worked, if you want to know any of that, I can just show you what I did. You can find out the videos I'll put on my channel. If Lord wills it, I'm not good with tech stuff, I'm still learning, but I'll put it on my channel so you can watch it, the videos prior to this notice, what led us to this point. But you can ask Ty Bodden, Janelle Branchin, and Chuck Witchers who they met with on September 14th and why they did the articles of impeachment. And If they don't say it was me, whatever. But I think it is. So here's why it's important for everybody to know this. Chuck, Ty, and Janelle all said, we want to do what's right, but where are the people? Where is everybody? They asked me that. So this has been on my heart for a while. This has been on my mind. I'm glad that I'm getting this out. I'm still learning with the tech stuff. If somebody wants to help me out, get a hold of me. Shout out to my brother Jaron Jackson. The only reason I'm this far is because of him. He's taught me what I'm doing so far. So I thank you. But if you want to know, what we need is more people. We need more people to know the law and to hold our government accountable to what they swore to. That's what Janelle, Ty, and Chuck all said. So it's just a matter of numbers at this point. Now, we don't need everybody. We just need enough to make it clear that, hey, now that we know the law, you can't not do what you swore to do. So this is bringing me, this is full circle. I'm trying to tell you the background as to why we're getting here. So those 3 reps I met with, 2 more signed on. We have 5 reps on the articles of impeachment for Meagan Wolfe. Now, everybody watching this video may have a couple of ideas. They may be thinking, well, why does this matter? It matters for a number of reasons. First of all, you have a body called the Wisconsin Election Commission that was created by statute by our legislature. So they created it. They're in charge of the whole thing. This is their creation. Okay? I would argue at this point it is unconstitutional. I'll get to that in a second. But when the legislative body and Robin Vos, who was the speaker then and has been the speaker in Wisconsin now for 17 years, he created this. This is his dog that's going around biting people, and the main issue is Meagan Wolfe. Okay? So, we want Meagan Wolfe impeached because of what she did. Not only that, and not only because we require justice, but we're going to prove to everybody in America that notices and affidavits work. This is the law, and our government servants and trustees have to follow it. So this is why we're to this point. Robin Vos has been stalling those articles of impeachment from coming to the floor. If every dirty trick he can think of, he wraps it up quick. He adjourns. He makes sure that these articles are not heard, because I believe, I'm not going to put it in writing because I don't know for sure, he can clear that up after this notice. I believe that the WEC is merely a body or a shield by which the legislature creates to take the bullets, arrows, and slings when elections go south. Our legislature can pass off their culpability to someone else. And you've seen this play out in the news and in the courts, where Meagan Wolfe says, I didn't do it, it's the legislature's fault. The legislature says, we didn't do it, it's the WEC's fault. And they play this game like WWF or it's all made up. It's a show. It's all there to distract everybody here from actually realizing the truth. And the truth is that when you don't follow what the Constitution says, not the statute, they're all in maladministration. And that word means misadministration of the public or any type of constitution or the laws. So what Robin Vos is doing, he's trying to take away the accountability piece of what the people were granted. The people are owed a right of remedy. And you'll understand here in a second. So I'm going to explain what this notice is for anybody who has not seen one. First, couple of lines here. Notice of maladministration to Robin Vos. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. So what that means, the second line, is when we give it to one legislature, this is to everybody. Okay? This one is to everybody, this to take notice of what's going on here. And this, you must spread this amongst your aides. This is basically the boss coming. The people are coming. You better take notice, because we're going to do the next couple of things by right. And we'll explain that. This paragraph here is I, and then you put your name in here, one of the people of the 50 American states. So the people created constitutions. That is a status. No one has ever been taught this, because if you knew it, we wouldn't be here. I, one of the people of the American states, as seen in Wisconsin Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, sui juris, that's our standing. Our standing means I'm coming to you by right, meaning from God. I have rights from God, and I'm here to tell you what's up. Sui juris, Republican in form, and that's all of our governments are Republican in form, am serving you this notice so that you and your agents, as the trustees and servants of the people, may provide immediate due care. Okay? So that is the first piece. Second piece is a notice. Mr. Vos, please take notice that the people have demanded that Megan Wolf be impeached and that the WEC be dissolved. In our constitutional republic, the people have all political power. I'm going to pause there for a second. All political power. No one's taught you this, but we're starting to figure this out. When it says the people have all political power, that's because in law and what we in life, all power and authority is granted. It has to come from somewhere. Everything. You can't just wake up one day, walk across the street, and grab your neighbor's car. You don't have the authority. You don't have the power. Your neighbor didn't grant you the authority to borrow it. Okay? It's as simple as that. So in our constitutions, our state constitutions, all say when the people have all political power, that means that we have it, and we're going to grant you some authority to use of ours, but we didn't give it away. Okay, you're just using it to benefit us. That's what the constitutions say. Okay, so the people who have all political power can lawfully instruct their agents, trustees, and servants to faithfully discharge the duties imposed on them by our Wisconsin Constitution. That's the way the Constitution's laid out. And the fundamental principles of law. I added this piece in there because the fundamental principles of law existed before we even had constitutions. Okay? So the fundamental principles of law are baked in to our constitutions. All people have a right to remedy promptly without delay by right to delay or to deny the impeachment vote of Megan Wolf is an act of maladministration and abrogating the right of the people. When the right of remedy is invaded, it is a trespass in violation of the public trust. See evidence below. So what this is saying is if you take away the remedy that we have baked into our Constitution and in the law, this is what Robin Vos is doing. He's stalling. He's trying to run out the clock to make sure Megan Wolf, who he probably put there on purpose, doesn't take the heat doesn't get doesn't doesn't take the bullet, so to speak, for what she did in this election in 2020 and 2022. See evidence below. So I'm going to back up what we say right here in the Constitution. This is Wisconsin, Article 1, Section 9, remedy for wrongs. Every person is entitled to a certain remedy in the laws for all injuries or wrongs which he may receive in his person, property, or character. Okay, the property that we're talking about here is my rights. Okay, the Constitution is a trust, and our rights are the property by which our government officials are supposed to protect, okay, and set apart. They have no jurisdiction to mess with our rights. They can't write any rules. They can't write any laws. They can't write a statute. Nothing. Our rights are accepted, meaning outside of anything public realm. Our rights are private. Okay, so then there, or character, he ought to obtain justice freely, without being obliged to purchase it, completely and without denial, promptly and without delay, conformably to the laws. And a lot of people are going to read this piece here. A lot of attorneys in the Capitol might think conformably to the laws, meaning the statutes that they wrote. Sorry. There's laws that existed well before any statutes were written. The common law still exists, and the common law is what the people play in. That's our jurisdiction. Now, common to all man, when you're not in government, when you're in your private affairs at your house, the common law applies to you. But if you're in government, you swore to the Constitution to follow those laws. That's different. These are maxims, this next piece here. Maxim of Law 94A. Where there is a legal right, there is a legal remedy. This is just backing up what we're saying. So maxims, guys, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, maxims are they're condensed good sense of nations, and I'll read this here, a piece out of the book of maxims. It's basically a maxim is an established principle or proposition, a principle of law universally admitted as being a correct statement of the law or as agreeable to natural reason. So these are used to kind of hammer the point home, and these cannot be argued. Okay, that's what maxims are. Before we make laws and before we make constitutions, people have to agree on what some terms and words mean. So when trusts are involved, or grants, power, authority, those words come with a definition or a usage that has to be conformed, basically agreed to all men in all civilized nations. So that's the fundamental principles of the law. Okay, most of these maxims, or a lot of the maxims, were made over time, but most of our common law is made up of the Bible, comes from the Bible, the King James Version. Next piece, Mr. Voss, take notice that as the current Speaker of the Assembly, I don't know if I've read this one, to take away all remedy for the enforcement of a right is to take away the right itself. So no one can take away your rights, especially not a government servant or trustee who swore to not do that. So it's twice as bad. So by Mr. Voss delaying and playing games with this, and he thinks he's just going to push this off to the side, that's not going to fly. So another paragraph here. Mr. Voss, take notice that as the current Speaker of the Assembly, you are tasked with and now ordered to bring the articles of impeachment to a roll call vote. You swore an oath to the people to faithfully execute the duties of your office. The maladministration and injuries committed by any bad servants regarding the right of suffrage, which is voting. I knew that I didn't know that because I grew up in a public school. I didn't know what suffrage is up until a couple of years ago. I went to public schools. Wasn't for me. Okay, I'm not smart. I barely passed high school. I had to learn this on my own, but anybody can do it if I can. So, voting. So it's one of the most egregious acts a trustee could commit on the people. So imagine that a trustee takes an oath, they swear an oath, they take the money, they sit in the seat to protect everything that's laid out for them. The job title is laid out, it says specifically what they can do. And not only do they not do that, they do the opposite. I'm pretty much, everybody in watching this video knows what I'm saying. That's what's happening. But I'm going to put some pieces of paper together, put some words on it, and I'm going to send it to them. And we're going to find out what's in their heart and what they did in the past by what they do right after they get the notice. So it's that simple. Okay? So Mr. Voss, failure to perform the required duties of your office, also known as the contract, which it's a contract. They all signed. Okay? The contract to remove bad government actors and creations like the WEC or Megan Wolf is by itself maladministration, willingly acting in bad faith. So a couple of people listening to that sentence might take this notice a little more seriously. Some people at the Capitol might. A couple of attorneys might. When you're willingly acting in bad faith against the public trust, that comes with a word. Next, I'm going to follow that up with some maxims to back up my question and statements right there in that paragraph. Maxim of law 4F. Faith must be observed. An agent must not violate the confidence reposed in him. So if all of our governments are trustees and agents, all of our government personnel, and they violate the faith reposed in them as we grant that authority to do our will and do our bidding to protect our stuff. Folks, I don't know if this is sinking into you, but that's about as bad as it can get. Okay? When you're entrusted with somebody's rights and their posterity, like you're messing with their elections, and the elections that you're messing with are going to have effects that affect their children, their children's children on down the line for centuries, I wouldn't do that if I were you. People are going to get really mad. Here's the next maxim. Punishment is due if the words of an oath be false. This is the law. They swore to all of this. They swore to that maxim and all of the maxims in here because in any contract, in any government, any law whatsoever, these maxims are baked in as already agreed upon principles before they sit there, before they even swear. Okay? So now I'm going to ask a couple of quick questions in this notice, and it's going to start to make sense. Mr. Voss, by not allowing the methods of impeachment or blocking it from being voted on in the assembly by a roll call vote on the floor, it is a usurpation of the people's will. This is a big deal, guys. This vote is a critical issue brought by necessity. If any judges are listening to this, you know what that means. Let me just back up a second. Imagine creating a business, again, I don't want to belabor this, but it's important because it's an easy way to understand it. Imagine creating a business. You have 100 employees, and it's always been 100, let's say. After 20 or 30 years go by, it becomes known to the community that your business is a country club. It's your business, you're the owner. Now, you're off doing other things, playing with your kids, what have you, handling your business, right? Your other business. But now just imagine now that after decades go by of not paying attention to your business, it is known in the community that that business, that particular business, is a country club, and there's nothing that you can do that'll get you fired. Okay. Now, that business, how well do you think that business is going to run? How efficient is it going to run when you never get rid of anybody who is actively doing wrong things? Now, let's just say 100 people have always worked there and they've been perfect. It's not going to happen. There's always turnover. There has to be turnover. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's what's voting's, that's what that's for, Clint. Not exactly. So now your business is here and nobody's ever fired, but the reason nobody's ever fired is because the employees have all figured out that all they have to do is not tell on each other, and the boss will never know, and we can all stay here forever, collect a paycheck, never get fired. Who cares about the business? We're here to just get paid. That's what's happening. If your state hasn't exercised its impeachment grants of authority, you must have all saints in your state. Just saying. So, let's go back to what I'm going to talk about here. So, brought to you by necessity. In the danger of maladministration, those who create the law, the people, not the bar attorneys, not the judges, the people create the law. Known as the grantors, have the right to alter, reform, or abolish at will. So what I'm coming back here at is, at some point when the owner shows up and he finds a couple of bad apples, the owner has the right to remove bad apples. And there's a number of different ways. But you know something, if there's a mess in the corner, okay, and it's been there for a while, it's definitely within the authority of the owner to tell the guy with the broom to go sweep it up. I know that sounds stupid, but it's that simple. We've got to use the law to make sure there's still a law. Because if nobody follows the law, what are we doing? So here we go. Next sentence here. We also reserve the right to an exact due regard to the trust indenture from our servants. We, the creators and the beneficiaries of the public trust, demand to witness the voting. This is a big one. Witness the voting record to gauge the performance of our representatives and their individual willingness to remove bad actors like Megan Wolf. Eesh, this is getting kind of awkward now. So, here's what this is going to do. Not only are we requesting that you remove Megan Wolf through impeachment, we want to make sure that everybody here knows what happens when you do something that bad. And we also get to witness the voting. of each and every one of our reps and senators to remove Megan Wolf, because now we know what's on your heart. Are you for the law, or are you one of the country club people that want to hang out and not do anything? Okay, let's see what happens. So we want to witness the vote. So you're probably thinking right now, I don't know, Clint. I don't know if this is what we want to do. Well, I'm going to tell you that this is what has to happen, because nothing in our state currently is going to be changed unless the people realize their power of removing bad actors, and the bad actors that are there understand that the people can remove bad actors. And until that happens, nothing's going to change. Nothing will change. So that's why this is an important notice. So, one lawfully commanding must be obeyed. It's a maxim of law. If the boss shows up, you got to follow what the boss says. When anything is commanded, everything by which it can be accomplished is also commanded, which means you can't make excuses if it's a lawful command and the end of what happens is lawful. You just need to make it happen, because that's when people get cute. Our politicians wiggle out of these situations. They like to stall. They like to run out the clock. Hopefully people get bored of the situation and they walk away. I've been watching this very closely. Now, it's been 3 months since last I've been at our Capitol, but a lot of things have happened since then, and timing is everything. So now everybody's going to realize how the law works, how notices work, and they make our government agents do what the law says. I can't tell them, you guys can't tell them to do anything unlawful. That's the beauty of it, because they can respond to this and say no thanks, because here's the law, you were wrong, and then we can say, hey, okay, sorry, no big deal. I cannot require, and the people cannot require, that these folks that are in these chairs do anything outside of what their responsibilities and grant of authority is. We cannot tell them to do something that they can't do. Okay, so there's a check and balance there, and I'm going to prove to everybody by you guys watching this video and following this notice that voting, as important as it is not the only way how people can contribute or have a say in our government on a day-to-day or a month-to-month basis. Okay, that's the lie. If I was to sum up this whole video, the lie is you have got to put up with somebody for 2 or 4 years because somebody with a different color on their bumper said so. And that goes both ways. This is not a color, red, black, white, blue, anything. This is the law. I don't care what persuasion you are. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican. It doesn't matter. I'm going to tell everybody, if you're a Democrat or Republican, you can do this, and you can make your government servants follow the law to a T. If you guys want an issue or a way for someone to, what would you call it, a coming together moment, or let's get around it, we can all come together over this one issue, this is it. If you guys like your freedoms, if you guys like to keep more of your own money, if you guys don't like to have people tell you what to do, your rights are your rights. You have got to use this notice and affidavit system. This has all been tested and it works. Shout out to my coach, David Jose. He's the teacher. I'm just following what I've been taught, what I've been reading. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of listening, but it's just the law. It's that simple. So the next piece here, take notice that on, let me move this up so you guys can read it right here. Take notice that on or around September 21st, 2023, 15 articles of impeachment were created by faithful legislators. And here's the 5 that are doing the right thing. Rep. Branchen, Rep. Bodden, Rep. Whitgers, Rep. Allen, and Rep. Binky. So thanks to those gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, you guys are doing great things. Keep doing what you're doing. We're here for you. If you guys need something, let us know. Let me just tell you, this is happening in other states. Other states are pretty far out ahead of this. I think Wisconsin's lagging a little bit behind. If they give you a little bit of motivation to reach out, get some help, and we can break some stuff. We can break some bad government real fast. We have another state that is listening to the people. Another state that has upwards of 40 of their reps taking classes, listening, consulting, everything with what we're doing. And it's about time that Wisconsin gets in the game here, and we can do the same thing. So the evidence of maladministration and injuries committed by Megan Wolf and the WEC are among the most egregious acts a trustee could commit on the people, also known as the creators and beneficiaries of the public trust. I got to keep putting that in here. A lot of this is foreign information to some people at the Capitol. I would say that there's some attorneys and some of the Ledge Council, they don't like seeing that. They don't like to hear that the Constitution is a public trust, because it just puts a massive gap and a hole in the boat that they've been floating in their whole life, and I understand that. But it's time to come to Jesus and figure out that this is the law, and that's the way it was designed. These articles of impeachment were based on voluminous evidence described in, but not limited to, the OSC reports. That's the Office of Special Counsel reports 1 and 2. Justice Gableman did a fantastic job. Thank you, Justice Gableman. We appreciate your efforts. And also the Wisconsin Supreme Court case Teagan versus WEC. Okay? Based upon not just that, but a lot of evidence in those things listed there is how the articles of impeachment were drawn up. The representatives mentioned herein will be excluded from any further culpability on this specific issue of free and fair elections and the people's right of suffrage, providing that they continue to carry out lawful instructions to protect our rights. So the 5 folks here that are doing what needs to be done, removing bad government actors, they're safe. Everybody else better start signing on. And when this vote hits the floor, everybody in the state and in the U.S. is going to be watching what your responses are to the evidence of what happened, what Mrs. Wolf did during our 2020 election. Okay. Mr. Voss, please take notice that people have heard nonsensical reasons from state senators, assemblymen, judges, and as to why the impeachment vote cannot go to the floor. A lot of excuses. I'm glad I held off on this notice for a while to hear all of the excuses, because I'm going to add them all in this notice, and I'm going to call you a liar, and everybody else in our state that wants to come out and say that an impeachment has to be held off by anything. Okay? So if you have a limited understanding of the frame of government, This is to Mr. Voss. As forewarned in earlier notices, you are getting bad advice and counsel from private interests not aligned with the public good. It is the sole right of the people to instruct and educate you in the basics of law. This is a constitutional right. It's the right of the people to do the instructing and the educating. If there's anybody else talking to our government officials, giving them education, you might want to think twice. Any foreign outside influence will be looked at as tortious interference in a contract. Can you show me in the Constitution where the people gave the Ledge Council the authority to give you instructions? The people can use the contract you entered in and by which you are bound to compel performance by right or justice by right. Okay? So we're going to use the contract that you guys signed, and as long as you're sitting there, we're going to make you perform to it. And there's a couple ways we can do that. The people have in personam jurisdiction over our agents and trustees at all times, and we can use that in personam jurisdiction to exact basically a due regard. Okay. And right here it proves it. Wisconsin Constitution, Article 1, Section 22, Maintenance of Free Government. The blessings of free government can only be maintained by a firm adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, frugality, and virtue, and by frequent recurrence to fundamental principles. And this is maxim of law 51Q. A frequent recurrence to the fundamental principles and a firm adherence to justice, virtue, and original law are indispensably necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty and good government. This is an American maxim. So this proves not only is it in our Constitution that says that the fundamental principles must be brought back to our government trustees and officials frequently, but then there's a maxim that backs that up. Okay? If this is the first time you've ever seen this, I'm not surprised, but if you've been with the group for quite a while, learning and following along with Dave Jose and the big group that is making changes, this is going to be some pretty fun stuff. Ignorance of those things, which one is bound to know, excuses not. So even though I'm giving somebody the information in our government, I'm going to tell you what the law is. I'm going to tell you what you're supposed to do. I'm going to give you fair warning. It's the Christian thing to do. I'm going to give you fair warning. I'm going to tell you what the law is. I'm going to say, hey, did you swear to this right here? Oh, okay. Well, why don't you just make corrections and we'll get along okay. That's what this notice is. Okay, but the ignorance of those things is no excuse. I'm sure everybody's heard that. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. But it's an actual maxim. The government, this is a good one. This is a government is to be subject to the law, for the law makes the government. So how often, we were raised thinking that the government was this all-powerful, monolithic machine that we were supposed to worship. Pledge allegiance, all this stuff. Nothing wrong with the pledge, but let's face it, that's designed to put you in a mindset that your allegiance to the government, and it's your creation, even though the government officials are the ones that swore. Wait a minute, see how they do that? So we were raised this way, and we should be, there's nothing wrong with pledging, as long as you know that the government is our creation, the people's creation, and they work for us. Okay, that's a big 180. That's a big mind shift. It doesn't happen overnight. It took me a bit. There's a few things I had to struggle through and kind of peel back the programming, right? But that's a big one. The government is subject to the law, so the law existed before the government was here. All these maxims existed before we created our Constitution. The common law existed before we created our Constitution. The common law still exists. The Constitution is just our frame of government over here, set apart, aside, saying, hey, you guys can handle this stuff to protect us. The common law is over here for the people. That still exists. We were lied to and educated out of that truth over 80 to 100 years. Back in the early 1900s is when it kind of ramped up and got really bad. Okay, Mr. Voss, take notice that ignorance of the law excuses no one, for all are bound to know the law, since you may still be getting bad advice and counsel from non-government actors with private interests. Okay, so attorneys belong to private associations. That's what the Bar Association is. It is a private entity that may have private interests. And if our government has private interests giving advice and steering away our public servants, that could make for some issues, and that's exactly what's going on. So it is our right to instruct you and bring you back to the basics of law. Mr. Voss, separation of powers between the different branches of government still exists. So there's news articles saying that a judge did this and said that the impeachment can't go through, blah, blah, blah. None of that, that's all garbage. All of it. It's a lie. Okay? And I'll prove it. I'm going to ask some questions in this notice to Mr. Voss. Mr. Voss, do you believe that any attorney general, ours, doesn't matter, any judge, any hearing officer, any governor, media outlet or opinion, even a president, or any other outside influence could stop you from bringing the articles of impeachment to a roll call vote? If so, please show me in the trust indenture and the contract known as the Wisconsin Constitution where you see that grant of power and swear to it by affidavit under penalty of perjury. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'm asking him to respond to my question, and I want him to swear to it, because if he's going to lie or use an attorney general or some judge in Madison to make it sound like he can't bring the articles of impeachment, it's almost like he's using other people in the government to block for him, right? That's what it is. If he thinks that they can stop him, I want him to respond by affidavit only. Or you agree by acquiescence that you are acting alone in halting the vote and abrogating the rights of the people. How about that question? This is a maxim of law. He who questions well learns well. Mr. Voss, do you believe that any statute created in pursuance of the Constitution can overrule the people's right to redress of grievances? I think he knows the answer, but attorneys and sometimes people get slick in our government and they say, well, the statutes don't allow that. That's a lie. When you come as one of the people and you claim your proper status and jurisdiction, status, standing, and jurisdiction, then when you claim it by right, they can't say that any statute or any rules or anything can get in the way. They can't say that. That's garbage. They're lying to you, or they don't know. Either way, well, we're going to correct them. Mr. Voss, do you believe that any assembly rule, chamber etiquette, or the Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure could abrogate the constitutional right of the people to attain remedy from their own creation? So why I put that in there? He'll probably try to do some procedural thing and say, oh, we can't for this, that, and the other reason. I'm eliminating all of the garbage, all of the excuses. I'm going to lay it out completely. And I'm going to prove to you that there is no reason that he can't do what his job says he's supposed to do. So that's like saying, you know that big pile of junk in the corner there, Mr. Sweeper guy of my corporation? Can you sweep that up over there? And he keeps saying, you know, the broom, it's been acting up, and, you know, it's, yeah, the broom. Dumb. This is what's happening. Okay, so if so, please show me in the Constitution where you were granted that power. So our Constitution grants authorities, okay? So if someone has the authority or the, let's call it, I know what you're thinking. Here's what you're thinking. Yeah, but he has the discretion. Clint, he's got discretion. That's a hoax. Guys, that's a hoax. Let me explain. I'll put it in an easy way for you guys to understand. You guys have a sheriff at your county, right? And somebody gets murdered right in front of you and right in front of the sheriff. And the sheriff doesn't lift a finger. He doesn't call over to his deputies. Nothing. And then it happens again. And then it happens again. Okay? Now do you understand that discretion is a hoax? If an attorney general, if anybody, any trustee of our government, and I don't care if it's down to the garbage man, if he's a government garbage man and he's not doing what he's supposed to do, it's maladministration. There's no such thing as discretion. If we give somebody grants of authority to do something and you swear to do it and you got paid to do it and you're a trustee and you don't do it, that's maladministration. So there is no discretion. When the people ask and demand by right with proper notice, legal notice, and you don't do it, it's pretty bad. So let's continue. Where was I? This one right here? Oh, no, this one. Get that off there. There we go. All right, Mr. Voss, please take notice that impeachment of any public officer can be completed at any time, and being in office or out of office during the impeachment trial is of no consequence. It's already happening. This excuse just happened the other day. What they're doing is the legislature in Wisconsin is trying to distance themselves away from the WEC like this so they don't have to impeach her. They're doing that on purpose. Mr. Voss is in charge. That's why this notice is going to Mr. Voss. We don't care if she's in office now. If the judge says she can stay, it don't matter. She's still going to be impeached. It doesn't matter. Nothing from the executive branch, no judge, no executive branch, nothing can stop a legislature, which is the representatives of the people who have grants of authority to do something. No other branch can tell them that they can't do it. That's separation of powers, unconstitutional. and I'll prove it. Mr. Voss, the impeachment of any officer. Oh, I did that, so let's go here. Megan Wolf's present or past status of being a public officer is of no consequence. So we don't care if she's not there in 2 months. We don't care. You're still going to impeach her. She is going to be impeached, and we're going to make you do it because that's what the people want, and this is the issue that we're talking about. It's of no consequence to her guilt or innocence. No judicial branch or executive branch order can stop legislative impeachments. It's completely separate. Impeachments are political. They happen in the assembly first, and they have nothing to do with any judge in the judicial or any executive in the executive. If you believe any other advice or counsel contrary to these facts, simply have that man or woman swear by affidavit under penalty of perjury that these statements are untrue, or you, Mr. Voss, agree by acquiescence that you alone are abrogating the rights of the people. That's going to clear up any confusion for everybody in the state. Stop listening to the radio. Stop listening to whatever news outlet it is that takes orders from our government currently, because there's a lot of them. Stop listening to these people that constantly are they're holding the veil of knowledge and all this stuff. They're holding it from you. There's the maxim of law. In law, no one is credited unless he is sworn. All facts must, when established by witnesses, be under oath or affirmation. This is key. It doesn't matter if they say anything on the news. That's not real. Now, if they swear to it, that's different. So I'm going to ask anybody, if there's a judge, if there is an attorney general or the governor or anybody in this state that wants to prove me wrong or us wrong, just swear to it. Swear to it on an affidavit. I bet you won't, because that's what the law is. No one is believed in court but upon his oath. Okay? Go down a little bit further here. Mr. Voss, take notice that you and all other trustees of the body politic known as the state of Wisconsin were granted limited authority by the people and must execute duties in removing all dangers to the public trust by those granted powers, such as impeachment. It's kind of what I was saying. You have authority to do things, and if you're not doing them, maladministration. If you're not removing bad government actors, maladministration. If sheriffs aren't arresting people, maladministration. If attorneys don't want to prosecute certain crimes because it's not politically advantageous, maladministration. Once this notice hits and everybody in the country knows and understands what this does, you'll understand that you can do this at any level and correct the wrongs at your county or your state or whatever. Let's continue. In your fiduciary capacity to protect the people, all provisions of this Constitution are mandatory. Of course, automatically implied in any contract are the maxims of law. Like I mentioned earlier, they stand as true foundational principles and are a part of the general customs of the common law of the land of every civilized nation. And I took that quote right out of the Maxims book in the preface. You can also read up more on the Maxims in the prior notice, the second notice, the one that went to Megan Wolf. I actually put the entire preface in that notice for our government legislators to read so they could steer clear of any maladministration. and I hope they read it. I hope they took it to heart, because the next piece, when I talk about the end of this, they're going to start taking it seriously. Not performing one's duty is a breach of the trust and would be an irreparable harm and an injury to the people. So, if you're a judge, you may know that statement holds a lot of water. And that's a big statement. So what this notice is, I'm going to keep reading here, is we're going to ask a whole bunch of questions out in the open. And if, and I'm going to do it in public, and that's what this is. This is a public notice. That's why it's notice to principals, notice to agent, back and forth. Everybody's going to be shown what I've shown them. They're going to understand the law. They'll agree with it. They'll understand it. And by action or inaction, it doesn't matter whether, Robin, I don't care if you respond. It doesn't matter if you do or don't. If you don't respond, the law's going to get you. If you do, the people are going to understand that they're in control. Either way, we win. It doesn't matter. What I would encourage you, and every legislature that listens to this video, the sooner we get back to what it's supposed to be, the less harm's going to come to everybody. Okay, so let's just do what's right, and let's get this moving. I'm going to go down to the next piece here, but I got to grab my window. Let's see, how do I get down there? How do I scroll any further? Oh, here's how we do it. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Okay, the last piece. Okay, the last piece here, maxim of law 21F. He who does not forbid what he can forbid seems to assent. Okay, so if you're in a position to take care of something and you don't, that's on you. He who does not repel an injury when he can induces it. So again, these are maxims of law. There are so many wrongs in what Mr. Voss is doing. If he does not impeach Megan Wolf, bring it to the floor, let the legislature, let the Assembly and the Senate all vote. Whatever happens, happens. But at least you're off the hook, okay? We want to see who in our legislature wants to fix things, and who in our legislature wants to stand on the rule of law. If you don't, all of these next pieces of paper are going to one man, and I'll explain that in just a second. Mr. Voss, it is my wish, order, and demand that you bring Megan Wolf articles of impeachment to a vote within 10 days of receiving this notice, or you agree with full knowledge, malice, and intent that you are harming the people. Any man or woman who decides to suppress this notice agrees to pay $100,000 per infraction. Any disputes by public officials or private actors who are bound by contract to the Wisconsin Constitution agrees to have these matters herein heard before an arbitrator of my choice and to be bound thereby. If you disagree with any of the information in this notice, you must respond by affidavit within 5 days, point by point, sworn under penalty of perjury, or agree by acquiescence that all statements in this notice to be truth and fact. Further, you agree that you are acting with full intent, knowledge, and malice, by trespassing against the people, and that no court shall be able to rehear this matter, but it shall stand as evidence, truth, and law in all courts of record. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to play chicken. That's all this is. You're my servant. Anybody who signs this agrees, right, that you, Mr. Voss, are their servant, and we're going to ask you to respond. If you do, it better be by affidavit. If you impeach Megan Wolf, or at least get the, we can't guarantee the outcome, right? But you better put it to the floor. That's the remedy. Okay? If there's anything in here that's not law and truth, you can respond. You can put it in writing, but you're going to swear to it. And then you can prove to everybody in the state and the nation that what I just said and what everybody just said in these notices is wrong and you're right. It's that simple. If you do not respond within the 10 days of this notice being delivered to you, the next step is affidavits. Everybody who's listening to this, when we show the law and they still do the opposite of what we showed them, like this, then we're going to swear to what they did on an affidavit, and that is prima facie evidence that that person, that government official or whoever, just harmed you. And we can do a lot of different things with those affidavits. We can put claims in there. We can sue any government official directly. We don't need any attorneys. We don't have to pay for it at all. I just showed to you in the beginning of this notice that we can do that by right, and we can use any means necessary. And these notices and affidavits work. It's not harming anybody, but it's just the law. So, I do need your help. Now, the last phrase I would say probably is the most important. The last sentence here. This notice is sent to you in peace with the love of Jesus Christ, so that you may provide due care to those who have all political power, the people. Look, this has gone on long enough. We're starting to figure it out. There's way too many people that know this by now. Just do what's right, so you don't have to go to prison for life. And anybody else who wants to continue this, they don't have to go to prison for life, because we want you to repent. We want you to repent and then be forgiven. And we can all just get on with things. But to leave everybody else, this is your video. This is an update, but it's also actionable. You need to spread this far and wide. Sign it. I'll put information in the Jot form link to how to do this. But if Mr. Voss doesn't want to bring the articles of impeachment forward, I'm going to teach everybody, the 550 people that I have that signed the last notice. You're all going to get this. And then I'm sure there's going to be a couple thousand people that get this one. And then I'm going to take all of you together, and we're going to show you how to make affidavits. That's going to be the next step. And we're going to fix our country. We're going to fix the nation. We're going to do it with peace. We're going to do it with pieces of paper. And we're going to use the law to do it. And nobody has to get hurt doing this. But this is how it works. So I want to give you a piece of positive advice here. This method has been being used all over the country. The Supreme Court, obviously, let me just go like this here. The Supreme Court has already flipped in favor of listening to the people, which is a good thing. They know the law better than anybody at this point. But the Supreme Court has already gotten plenty of notices, plenty of affidavits. They already understand this. So now it's going to take the folks at the state and county and the grassroots level. So we got a bottom up and a top down, and we're going to meet in the middle. And what's going to happen is there's only going to be a few holdouts. But hey, we're taking our country back. We're going to do it this way. We're going to do it by using the law. And our forefathers knew every one of these maxims. They knew the Bible. This is the right way to govern our government, and by right, this is the way we're supposed to do it. We're only holding them to a standard that's already written. We're not making this up. This is all written in our state constitutions. Our 50 states, obviously the federal is a part of it, but it's very limited in what it does and what it handles. If I can encourage you guys to get some materials, it's just read your state constitutions, you'll understand. Black's Law 5th, actually all the Black's Laws that start from say 1 to about 4 are good, and then from 4 to 5 the Black's Law dictionaries start to get a little wonky, so after 5 I wouldn't even buy it. But those are the resources, among other things, the Maxims of Law by Charles A. Weissman. And if you guys want to learn more about this stuff, hit me up on the comments. You can reach me on Telegram. I am at Go Anywhere on Telegram. That's GONEWHERE. I wanted to think if I had the ER on there, but you can hit me up on Twitter and ask questions, and we can bring you into the midst of us and into our groups and teach you more about this. But again, big shout out to my coach, my teacher, Dave Jose, and we're going to continue to do good things. So follow along and participate, or you're going to miss all the fun. Thanks. We'll catch you on the next one.